Welcome, everybody. My name's Peter Lane, and I'm on the board of directors of the REVE Kandale Foundation. I was also a Peace Corps volunteer in Kandale, and so it's really my pleasure to be here and to have all of you here being a part of this program tonight. I left for the Congo a day after my 22nd birthday and spent 2 years in Kandale. And so I always like to say that that community took care of me as a young man, and it's really a pleasure for me to give back even in a very small way to Kandale now. I think everybody in Kandale would be delighted and proud to know that all of you have gathered here tonight to learn about their community and to support them. So I'm just really thrilled that all of you are here, either live or watching on the recording. I know that we have a number of REVE Kandale Foundation board members here, so maybe those of you who are board members, if you could just kind of raise your hand if folks want to scroll through the screen and can see who the REVE Kandale board members are. Thank you. I'd also invite you in the chat space just to put your name and where you're joining from so we can see who's with us tonight. So if you want to take just a minute to write your name and where you're joining us from in the chat space, that would be great. I think we still have some people joining us.
But we kind of got past it.
No.
We have
Bill Gray, Southampton.
Great, so excellent, thank you. All the way from New England, California, Ghana, San Francisco, Minnesota, all over the place. So thanks so much for joining us.
Lyme, Connecticut.
So I also want to introduce Julie Martell, who is board president of REVE Kandale Foundation. Julie, you want to say a few words for us?
Yeah, I'd be delighted. So I want to echo a warm welcome, echo Peter on that. I thank you for taking the time to join us, especially these days where people get pretty zoomed out with the video cons. So, but it is nice. This is our first time sort of venturing, having an event in this format, and we hope you find it informative, engaging. It's an interactive setting, so I hope you feel more connected and let you share the excitement we have for the work going on in Kandale. I was actually a Peace Corps volunteer not far from Kandale as well, and really learned to enjoy the people there and everything. And I just love turning at this point in my life back and engaging with the community there once again. Colette, as you'll be meeting her, just came back from an extended trip to the Congo, and I, for one, never tire of listening to her stories of the excitement and energy the work of REVE Kandale, brings to the people there. So welcome this evening and enjoy. Turn it back over to Peter. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Julie. So yeah, for this evening, I mean, it's relatively informal. Colette has some comments, going to talk a little bit about some background of Kandale for those of you who aren't as familiar with Kandale, and also a little bit about her trip there recently. We also have 2 short videos, 3 minutes in length, that we're going to show just to really bring you to Kandale a little bit this evening. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Colette Ramm, who is co-founder of REVE Kandale Foundation and just an amazing person. So take it away, Colette.
Thank you, Peter. Do you want to stop sharing so I can see everyone?
Sure.
You want to stop sharing so I can see? There you go. Thank you, everyone. I'm so happy and immensely grateful for the interest each one of you is showing in Kandale. And I'm delighted to take you on this trip and warn you, this is the only time you get to go to Kandale on a very smooth trip. It's not always easy to travel to Kandale. So I'm happy to take you to Kandale virtually. My name is Colette Ramm. Kandale is where I was born and where I grew up. And so during this time, I'm going to share with you a little bit about Kandale, the background, and also the work that REVE is doing, the progress we have made to date, the challenges, and what we intend to do going forward. So Kandale is a Mennonite mission station. It was founded in 1926, basically to provide pastoral care, education, and health services to area villages, 92 villages that make up Kandale. It has a church, and it has 3 schools, 1 primary school that we're building. You know, you can see behind me, the walls are going up. And it also has 2 high schools. One of them is a sewing school for girls, and is the only sewing school that is catering to all the 92 villages in Kandale area. So Kandale also has a small clinic called the hospital. It also has a maternity ward. Life in Kandale revolves around these 3 institutions. On a given day, there are more than 1,000 children that come to Kandale to study. Some of them walk miles on foot, 5 to 12 kilometers back and forth to just come to school. Women in Kandale are still working hard in the field in order to supplement the teacher's salary, which often comes late, and sometimes it's not enough to sustain the family. But basically, Kandale is poor and is very rural and also remote. It's located 750 kilometers from Kinshasa, the capital city, and the nearest city of Kikwit, where we buy all our material for construction and all the projects we have on the ground, is located 220 kilometers away. The climate in Kandale is tropical. There are 9 months where it rains very heavily, and 3 other months where it's completely dry. And the nights are cool. I say freezing, but some people argue that it's pleasant or cool, so we'll go with cool. But if you're visiting Kandale one day, bring a heavy sweater or electric blanket. That's how I will do it. Anyways, so also Kandale being very rural means there is no market in Kandale. There is no electricity in Kandale. There is no internet connection. There is no movie theater. There is no TV. There is very limited access to cell phone. You may need to climb a tree in order to get a connection. And so there is also no running water in Kandale. So life is a bit tough for children in Kandale and women because they do most of the chores. I remember when I was young, growing up in Kandale, always waking up early in the morning to go to the river to fetch water, come back, pound cassava and millet, and get ready to go to school. Sometimes I had to stay longer at the river because I only had one dress. I will wash it and wait, hiding in the water until it dries, and then wear it and rush home to go to school. Like many children in Kandale, we grew up with no shoes. So when we go up to the river early in the morning, you wash and you take wet sand and you pile it all over your feet so that when you're climbing the hill, your feet don't get very dirty, so that you will use again the water and wash your feet and then go back another trip. And then when we will get home, we shake off our feet. They look very ashy, at least they were clean, and the teacher will accept you in a classroom. So that was the life in that we had in Kandale. But I never at one point thought I didn't have enough, because I had enough food. Our forests were full of, everything we needed. I didn't realize how little I had until later on in life. Basically, when I travel in places like the US, where now I have so many clothes, it stresses me to pick up what I want to wear. And so I want to give back to my community. Thanks. Peter?
So Colette, tell us a little bit about how REVE Kandale got started.
REVE Kandale, how did it get started? I think we all have our dreams, and there is a time in our life where we all think about how the other people, other people live, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's a country, like what's going on in Eritrea, what's going on in Myanmar. We all get concerned about how other people are living and wanting to lend a helping hand. So since coming to the US, I have always had a dream as well. And my dream is called REVE. It's also an acronym that stands for the Rehabilitation of Green Space and Schools. I wanted to do something for my community, to lift the community up, to break the walls between the children of Kandale and access to education, between the children of Kandale and access to clean drinking water, between the children of Kandale and access to food, and good, safe, and protective environment. I wanted to do all that. I wanted to help my community carve a big highway to escape poverty, out of poverty. I wanted to help my community build, plant a tree to heal the land, that they relied on, that was getting degraded, and to heal also the community. So when I traveled back, I left Kandale in 1986. I thought life was good. I mean, we had good school. We had qualified teachers, including Peace Corps volunteer. We also had dormitory for girls and for boys. Qualified teacher who came from the city had good housing. Our forests were full of trees, full of caterpillars. We didn't have to travel far away to collect food or firewood. There were fruits everywhere at the mission. And so life was good. But then when I came back a few years later, with the collapse of the continuing collapse of the Congo economy and rising corruption, Kandale, when I came back in 1995, I found that Kandale was completely transformed. The school have fallen apart. The few structures that were left had no walls. The roof were leaking very heavily. All the trees were gone. Peace Corps were gone. All the teachers were gone. Young people were leaving the village. So it was very difficult sight to see. And I wanted to do something about my community. And I know that Kandale is a very resilient community that always came together when needed to build a better future for the children. One of the former Kandale headmaster once said that education was the basis of humanity. I think all Kandale parents understand that. In 1976, they fought the government and the church establishment nails and tooth to make sure that the secure a high school in Kandale so that children in Kandale didn't have to travel far away to get high school education. Both the government and the church refused to allow Kandale to have a high school, but Kandale parents and the paramount chief came together and built that high school. They named it Gufwa-Gubila, meaning live or die, and is one of the schools that we're supporting currently. So Kandale continue to have the willingness and also the muscle to do what it takes to give their children a better life, except that most of the population in Kandale is the subsistence farmer, just growing enough food to feed themselves, and they don't have money. What they build, you know, the little structure they build, temporary structure, cannot withstand the heavy storm that hit Kandale 9 months a year. So when I saw the situation, I decided that I needed to contact all of the Kandale community locally and abroad to share with them what I have seen during that trip. So I started contacting everybody, everyone who was connected to Kandale, including Peace Corps volunteer, to share with them what I had and to see if together we can do something. So in 2011, we founded REVE Kandale, which, like I say, is an abbreviation that stands for the Rehabilitation of Green Space and Schools. Through REVE Kandale, we would like to build safe and protective, safe and viable classrooms so that children will study in good condition. Through REVE Kandale, we also want to provide access to clean drinking water. We want to plant trees to heal the land and also the community. We want to support and promote girls' education, and we also want to engage young boys and girls in youth sport. So that's what we're doing. Thanks.
Colette, you've alluded to some of the challenges that Kandale faces. Can you talk a little bit more about what the challenges are today, especially around water and access to clean water?
Yeah, so there are many challenges, obviously. Kandale being remote and being rural and poor, there are so many challenges that I can go on and on, but I will name the three that most affect what we are trying to do. So one of them, like you say, is the water crisis, which number one affects school attendance. You know, many children in Kandale misses out on school because they are either too sick from waterborne disease, or they are making 3 to 4 trips a day down a very steep hill to go fetch water for the family. Therefore, they miss out on school and then they end up having poor grades. There are also
We can't hear you right now, Colette.
You're muted again, Colette.
How is that possible? So can everybody hear me now? Okay, good. So what I was saying, that there are many challenges. One of them is water that affects school attendance, because children are either sick from waterborne diseases or they're making 3 to 4 trips a day down a very steep hill to fetch water for the family. Girls are also affected because during the menstruation, they may not have enough water to clean, and so they end up staying home and not going to school. The water also affects very much what we are trying to do, whether it's brick making, whether it's tree planting, or it's school construction. For instance, last year, we had a problem. It didn't rain for 2 weeks. And so we ran out of all the water in the poly tanks we have installed in Kandale. Therefore, the community decided to step in and get water from this stream, which is very difficult. And the engineer that came from Kinshasa, who never been to Kandale, decided to go there and carry 2 jerrycans of 25 liters. Well, he collapsed coming back in the hill. So the community had to go and rescue him. So it's very tough, especially during the dry season to plan on all our project, and water crisis really affect the timeline of project implementation and completion. It also affects the community livelihood because many people go to bed hungry because they don't have water to drink. We have installed 2 poly tanks with a 10,000 liter capacity, and we are planning hopefully to do more in the future. The other problem that we have, the other challenge is lack of good school. There are no good school infrastructure in Kandale for the 3 schools that are there, and no qualified teacher. This is almost like a vicious cycle because you need qualified teacher to attract, you need good infrastructure to attract qualified teachers, and when you don't have qualified teacher will leave. And so what's happening in Kandale now that the DRC government is threatening to close down all the schools that do not have good infrastructure, while the primary school in Kandale is doing fine because we have already provided them with enough classrooms, 6 classrooms, and we are in the process of building another 7 classrooms. Now, the lycée and the other institute, Gufwa-Gubila, are at risk of being shut down if this goes in effect, because they don't have, they require 18 new classrooms to meet the infrastructure needs. And because the teachers' salary are an important part of the local economy, if this school closes, it will really affect the Kandale, the quality of life of the people in Kandale. The last but not least of the challenge is the land degradation. People in Kandale rely very much on the land for everything, food, firewood, everything, how to build the houses, to even build the temporary structure. Now that the forest has been all cut down, they're moving further and further. Caterpillar have disappeared, birds, all the small animal, all the food, mushroom, everything has disappeared. Kandale people now are walking as far as 200 kilometers to go collect caterpillar. Women are walking very far away to find fertile land where they can grow food. And now the more they move, the farther they move, they ended up crossing in other villages' land, and this enact some land conflict, which is happening in Kandale. Before we didn't have that issue, but it has become a problem now. Also, deforestation has exposed the soil to erosion. We had a landslide a couple years in Kandale that blocked completely the stream where Kandale gets water. And now that stream is blocked, it takes women and children twice the distance to access another stream where they can get water. So this is a problem, but thankfully, the tree planting project that we have started 10 years ago, and our campaign, vigorous campaign on environment protection, is changing the attitude of people in terms of bushfire and abusive logging of the trees. So those are the challenges.
Yeah. So Colette, should we play one of the videos focused on water?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's take a look at this video. It'll show you also be a good view of Kandale. So
Mm.
let's see if I can get it up here.
Water is as necessary for life as the air we breathe. That's true in America and around the world. We use it in washing and in cooking and in so many facets of our daily life. But in Kandale, a small cluster of villages in the Democratic Republic of Congo, fetching water can be a punishing experience. Children like 11-year-old Michaela Jimbo leave their homes early in the morning with their buckets and bidons to begin the long walk to the water source. At a time when they should be getting ready to go to school, they instead are working to get the water for the entire family.
Trouver l'eau chaque jour, il faut faire l'effort, tout ça, de descendre de montagnes là pour monter des collines. Si vous n'avez pas cet effort, vous n'allez pas obtenir de l'eau.
In Kandale, going to the water source means descending a steep ravine at the edge of the village, maneuvering down a narrow path, which can become slippery during the 9-month rainy season. Children normally make the trip twice a day, once in the morning and once in the late afternoon before the evening meal. At the bottom of the ravine, a spring emerges from the hillside, and the children fill their containers one at a time. And then they take the opportunity to wash off in the muddy pool beneath the spring. Then they begin the long climb back up the hillside for the return home.
People in Kandale don't have enough water to satisfy their need. They go without, they sacrifice because they're watching. Even from the time I was growing up to now, it's the same thing. You just don't take for granted. You don't just wash your hand and throw water away like that. You wash your hand, you leave it in there, somebody else wash, then the baby wash. They don't have water to play around with like we do here.
The immediate solution that would be a huge help is a rainwater catchment system. Using water that comes off of some of the new buildings with the tin roofs at the community center. It does rain a lot during the rainy season. And so a water catchment system that would catch the rainwater into large tanks and then feed that into a pipe system where people could come and get water is a good initial solution. In addition to a rainwater catchment system, we are planning and seeking funds to put a solar-powered water pump where the spring is to pump water up to the community of Kandale. This would provide a sustainable year-round supply of water for the needs of Kandale. And it would mean that kids wouldn't have to go down and bring water up for basic drinking and cooking every day before they go off to school. It would provide a huge relief to labor, and it would ensure that people have a safe, clean source of drinking water year-round.
So just a good example of some of the challenges faced by the community and how that impacts the children and their going to school. Fortunately, we have some of those catchments that's really helping. And that, Colette, it'd be great if you talk a little bit about just some of the things that have been accomplished. I mean, one of the things we know about Kandale is it's a very resilient place. And with a little bit of help, they've really been able to make some progress. Do you want to just, in the 10 years, just some of the things that have happened in Kandale?
Yeah, actually, despite all the, the challenges, we have done well. Like we are lucky and we are very grateful to everyone here tonight, all our supporters who cheers us on, who gives us money, everything counts. So we have so far built firstly the multipurpose education center. This is where Kandal children take the most important exam, the national exam, in order to graduate from high school and go to the university. In the past, Kandal children had to walk miles to go places where they didn't even have a host family to take them or miss this exam. And now we have built a multipurpose education center, which is fully furnished and which has also solar light, which is serving for the national exam, but also for a place for the community to gather. It also serves for the sewing program. We have also purchased and delivered a brick making machine with the capacity to make 1,000 bricks a day. So that's one of the things that helped us last year. For instance, when we were building, we started laying the foundation. We had already some brick that has already been made, so it is good. We also built 2 6 classrooms, one through advocacy to the government because they got funding from the World Bank. So I went there and lobbied support for the Kandal, and so they accorded us 6 classrooms. And the other 6 classrooms, we built this through one of our yearly campaign that we do to encourage Kandal people, Kandal community, both locally and abroad, to contribute financially to school construction. We call it Operation Miltol for Kandal, Operation 1,000 metal sheet for Kandal. So we launch that every year, and then we collect some funding to buy some construction material. With that, we build the first classroom, the first 6 classrooms. We have 7 other classrooms under construction. You can see behind me, the walls are up. Now we just need to put up the roof. Hopefully we will do that before the new class year starts no school year starts in September. We already have generous donors who are helping us make that possible, and who are also helping us get some furnishing in this classroom so that the children will have a safer and protective learning environment. We have delivered also manual typewriter to the lycée in Kandal. People, I think these are ancient, but they're still helping in Kandal. People use manual typewriter every day, to write letter, everything, because there are no computers in Kandal. But luckily, we did provide them with some laptop computer just to teach teacher also how to use the computer. Welcome, Rudy. And in addition, we deliver 40 sewing machines for the lycée. Since the school was built in 1972, they had only 1 sewing machine that was not working anymore. So in 2018, we were able to mobilize funding and purchase 40 sewing machines. That is really helping a lot. In fact, last year when COVID hit, there was a requirement by the government of Congo that everybody that took the state exam had to wear a mask. So the lycée were able to use the sewing machine to make masks for all the students so that they can take the state exam. We also have renovated 2 of the girls' dormitories that were completely dilapidated. It can fit at least 40 girls. We created a library for the first time in Kandal. People can hold a book, take it to their home and read it. Actually, and I have to copy everything from the blackboard down. The library has 700 books in French, and last year we received more books from a generous donor that are going to be delivered this year to Kandal. We provided girls with reusable hygiene kits. Over 300 kits, we have 150 more to distribute this year. We also gave away soccer kits to engage boys and girls in sport. We installed solar lighting to the maternity and also to the multipurpose education center, like I said. Most importantly, also, we installed 2 poly tank with the 10,000 liter capacity that is providing water for our project, but also we are selling for a small fee to the community, some water to the community to cut down on the number of children that, number of time that the children have to go down the hill to fetch water. We have planted 10,000 trees. I was so surprised to see how we created a forest. That's like the one thing I'm so proud to see. When you walk in Kandale now, you can see the changing face, you can see the new school, but you see the forest. And for the first time in my life, I saw this tree that produces glue, you know? So it was surprising for me. And so carpenter come and collect this liquid glue to go use for the work to build the chair or desk. It was very good to see. All the trees and all the lost caterpillar that have disappeared, all the birds coming back. It's just nice. Yes.
And Colette, I think one of the things about that too is that with wildlife and medicinal plants, it really is a source of nutrition for the community as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really great.
Yes, yes. You have a video, right?
You ready for the video?
Yes.
Okay, I'll call up the next video.
So everybody can see. That's the one in red. Peter, that's the one with the big red thing on it. The tree one, the tree featuring one. Below the.
Which one?
Go up, up, up. Yes, that.
There we go.
In October
There is no.
2018, a heavy rainstorm ripped through Kandale and, for all practical purposes, destroyed
It's not playing properly, or is it me?
3 secondary schools serving the greater Kandale community. The school is now unusable, and what had been a challenge to find adequate classroom space for Kandale students was suddenly a crisis.
Okay.
The cascading effect of the damage was that the high school students were forced to hold classes in the church or share classroom space with the primary school, displacing some of the younger students. Some even sat under trees. It was a crushing blow to the Kandale community and its dream of finally having modern and safe classrooms for the 2,000 school-aged children. But since that fateful day, Kandale has begun to rebuild the school infrastructure with the help of partners near and far. Despite the global pandemic that struck in early 2020, our generous donors, including St. Mark and Darnestown Presbyterian churches, provided enough funds that by last summer, the community could begin laying the foundation for 7 new classrooms. As more funds arrived later in the year, the builders continued working and the walls are now completed. We are proud of the fact that the women are working alongside the men. That's a sharp break with the past and with the clearly defined roles for men and women in Kandale. Many of the women say they feel empowered, having shown their prowess in the construction trades. Members of the Kandale community living in the diaspora have contributed the roofing sheets for the project, bringing it closer to the finish line. What is left is the framing, the flooring, and the finishing fixtures. And then we will have 7 usable classrooms. That will greatly ease the overcrowding and move Kandale closer to becoming the center for educational excellence we all envision. This will build on the achievements to date. The multi-purpose education center constructed in 2018 and illuminated by solar power continues to pay dividends. It serves as the sewing center for Lycée Guinea-Kasanga, the venue for Congo state exams, and temporary classroom space. And the reforestation program is, well, let's say that it is blossoming. Thick groves of trees now stand where there was once only open grassland. New species of caterpillars are appearing, providing a valuable source of protein. Our friends in Kandale, both men and women, have the muscle to make these dreams a reality. What they lack is the financial means to make it all happen. For that, we are grateful to all our generous supporters over the years.
Colette, that's a great summary, and it brings us to your recent trip. So, have you got any stories for us about your trip and the progress that you saw while you were there?
Yeah, since we started REVE Kandale, I try to go there every year, basically to monitor the activities, talk with the community about the progress we are making and needs, and also encourage people and the staff on the ground, and deliver some goods like hygiene pads and, you know, books and so on. This time, last year was very difficult because of COVID. Even though there are no cases of COVID in Kandale, no known cases of COVID in Kandale, still the school were closed. Church gathering was not allowed, so it was very challenging not to be able to meet with teachers, as I always do, and to meet with community representatives. But on the brighter side, I got to see the construction work going on. And so I got to see the women that were involved actually in the construction. One of these women came to me and say how proud she was to be involved in such complex work along with the young men, and also how proud and happy she was to know that her younger sisters, the two younger sisters who were in primary school, will study in better condition than she did herself. So that was really heartwarming for me. I also met this young boy that was 5 or 6 years old, and he told me, Mama Colette, when I grow up, I want to become an engineer. That completely blew my mind, because those kind of dreams never existed in Congo. So it's very nice to see people doing that. And one other thing that was a good thing that we did during this trip was I brought an expert in tree planting. Since we have been planting these trees, we just do it on our own, and we never had anybody with expertise come and teach us. But thanks to a generous donor this last year, we were able to hire a tree planting expert and travel together in Kandale. We bought 100 samplings that we took. He trained 23 people, including 10 youth in tree planting. And so we learned lots of things. And so that was very nice. But despite the COVID restriction, people in Kandale are so very happy and very excited and very proud about how Kandale face is changing with new school, with this new forest that is actually attracting so many people from even very far away. They're just curious to see this new forest that is growing in Kandale. And it's very nice to see. It's also nice to see that attitudes are changing about environment protection. People now know not to just cut the trees, you know, for the sake of it. They protect. They're very protective of our 34-acre forest that is growing there. many families, many qualified teachers now are coming back. I think we are up to 5 qualified teachers that have come back to Kandal. Young people are coming back to Kandal and staying and now going back. So I'm very excited. So life is returning slowly in Kandal, and I'm grateful for that.
That's great. Thank you, Colette. And I think what we'd really like to do is open it up to all of you. If anybody has a comment or question, feel free to unmute yourself or put it into the chat space. We've got some board members on here. If you have any comments or anything to add, feel free to jump in here. So we'll open it up to you. What are your questions?
Well, I'll go. Hi, everybody. Some of you I haven't seen in so long. I'm just curious about the road infrastructure. When we were there, there was at least a paved road from Kinshasa to Kikwit and even bus service. I was wondering how that connection is just to get goods to Kikwit, because that seems to be where you guys are getting a lot of your material is. And how is the road then down to Kandal? Can you do it? Can you do it in a day? Probably can't do it in a day, but can you do it in a week? I mean, I have no idea what the road infrastructure is there just to get goods and services through for your construction or your materials.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like one of the things on the board is just the complexity of getting supplies and the engineer and all different kinds of things to actually build a proper school building. It's pretty amazing, but
Yeah.
you can speak more to the roads than I can.
Yes, I guess there are also other board members here who travel with me, and our parents who are also here who have gone to Kandal. Anybody is free to chip in. But the road, which is called National 1, runs from Kinshasa to Kikwit. That road is paved. So all the 500 kilometers of that road from Kinshasa to Kikwit is paved, so you can get there by a day. And then there are about maybe 20 more kilometers paved on the way out from Kikwit to Kandal. Then you get into a dirt road that, you know, depends on days. When it rains, it just can be cut off, and then it's difficult for car to go through. So it's the part that is dirt road that poses a problem that makes it difficult to get to Kandal.
Yeah, we did do the trip in a day once. We left Kandal
Yeah.
dawn and drove up to Kikwit and all the way to Kinshasa. It was a very, very long day. But it's nicer to do it in 2 days. More definitely.
Yeah.
And just to say, Colette, hi, David, and just to say it changes from week to week. So when Colette was just there in December and January, she was able to do that one long day on the Kinshasa Kikwit road, and then a half day back out to Kandal. But there was just a bad rainstorm. About 50 kilometers outside of Kikwit, the road is just blown out between Kinshasa and Kikwit. So right now you cannot get from, as of about 2 weeks ago, you can't get from Kinshasa to Kikwit. The road's blown out. Can't get around. And we had one of the team members from REVE Kandale come into Kikwit to get resources, and a rainstorm had blown out the dirt road between the turnoff down to Gungu, and so he got stuck for 3 days and had to walk over the blown out road and get a motorcycle on the other side. So on any given day, as Julie said, we went on that trip together 2 years ago. We were able to drive from basically 6 in the morning till I don't know what time we got in, about 9-10 o'clock at night. We did make it all the way back to Kinshasa on a dry, good day.
Yeah.
And next time it's a week, or right now you just can't do it. You actually cannot get on a four-wheel vehicle from Kinshasa to Kandal until they get the road fixed.
David, I also want to add that it's possible to go from Kandal to Kinshasa, because then you can't negotiate those roads between Kikwit and what in the dark is hard. because the bridge are not there, and you know, once you leave Kikwit, you can really once you leave Kandal, I'm saying you can drive all the way to Kinshasa and arrive maybe night falls, you know, because the rest of the road, after you have negotiated 100-something miles, the rest of it is asphalt, so you can continue going. It is going in to Kandal that is more complicated, because once it gets dark, it's not safe to drive. Yeah.
And Colette, I think you've shown us several pictures of when the truck was leaving, I believe, Kikwit to take out a load of lumber and desks or anything carrying out. And especially after it's been raining, it's very slippery. It's very muddy and very slippery. And then the truck has to negotiate this pretty much non-existent bridge, right?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. And we almost lost 400 bags of cement once, because, you know, the truck going to Kandal, just, you know, the bridge, half of the bridge has broken, and the truck wheel went in that, and then it almost fell over in the river, but thankfully it didn't. So neighboring village, and REVE, one thing about REVE is we really have high acceptability in the community. You know, everybody see REVE as a positive things happening. So all these villages came out, and they knew that this truck is carrying cement for REVE Kandale. They came and got the cement out of the truck. They covered it somewhere until there was a possibility. Somebody actually offered the house so that they can keep the cement there until it was ready. They made the arrangement to take it to Kandal.
Yeah, it never seems to be easy, right?
No, it's not easy. It's a miracle.
Everything's a miracle. Yeah, I think one of the reasons I think I like staying engaged with this is, you know, we lead such a technological, you know, complex, you know, comfortable life, I'll say. And I think it really helps keep perspective on your life to stay engaged with a community like this. It's living in a completely different space in different ways, and just trying, you know, connecting with them and thinking about that life and what it's like. And I really want to highlight what Colette mentioned when she was young. She didn't really see that she didn't have things. She felt she had food, she had clothes, you know, and I think it's just good for everyone to sort of, you know, have this, keep a broad range of experiences and exposures in your life. And so I think that's, I find very valuable and rewarding.
What other questions do you have?
I guess I did.
You know, they all want to know how you prepare those caterpillars. They look so good.
Yes, you fry them or boil them. Yes. Yeah.
Hi, this is Fred.
I'm sorry.
Speaking of caterpillars, are there any concerns around nutrition and food security in Kandal?
Yeah. Yes, I think there is a concern about food security. I think, you know, because of land degradation. And in fact, food security is becoming a problem across Congo. I'm very surprised. Congo is a country that should feed itself, but, you know, you see reports saying that we are 5 on the list of countries that cannot feed themselves. That's unimaginable. So there is that problem of land degradation. I can tell that from the time when I was growing up, the amount of food that people in Kandal produce has become, you know, less now. They has to, you know, to work bigger field, to cut down, you know, trees and cultivate bigger field, or at least one woman will cultivate maybe 4 or 5 fields just to get enough cassava to feed the family. So that's a concern in terms of food security in Kandal. And the fact that it's very remote, there is no access. So Kandal is is a collection of 92 villages, but it's divided. These villages are divided by this big river called the Kwilu River, which flow from all the way from Angola to Kandale. The other side of Kandale produces a lot of food, but then is only accessible by a dugout canoe. And so just recently, we have had so many accidents in that dugout, right? You know, in Kandale, this side, the mission that I have presented has like the hospital, has the schools. So you have people crossing either to come to the hospital or to come and sell food or stuff like that. But we have lots of accidents with dugout canoe that will capsize and people die. So it's not easy. And also the cost of, you know, having money, the buying power. Most people don't have money to buy food if they don't produce their own. So that adds to the risk of people going hungry.
Sorry, yeah. The issue of food security is not unique to Kandale. It's, I think, throughout the country. The problem that we are facing is that the population has increased, and we are still producing the same, we are using the same old
technology
to produce what is for 10 people. Now we have to feed 1,000 people, and we are using the same technique. And also now we have a poor infrastructure. Those people, the agriculture is one of the bone of the country, apart mineral. Now this locked country, this Kandale is a locked country area.
Landlocked, yes.
And yeah, landlocked. Sorry, landlocked. Now they cannot produce commercially because they cannot sell the products elsewhere.
Yeah.
There is a kind of, we are in a circle kind of. There's no political, there's no national strategy for us agriculture is concerned. So everything is in total mess. And you cannot, being a system, you cannot expect one part of the system to perform when the other system is not working.
So,
thank you, John.
Colette, Dave had a question in the chat. What is the next phase of development for REVE? Is there a 5-year plan?
Oh, yeah. I want to answer that. Yes, so what we would like to do is to continue to complete immediately. The short-term planning is to complete the construction of the 7th classroom and have the roof on and have the floors so that kids will have, you know, a place to study. We want to also finish renovating the girls' dormitory to expand the capacity, the dorm capacity. But in the long term, we would like, once we complete building this primary school, we want to also build the 2 high school in Kandale, the 18 classroom that we were talking about in phases, obviously. We want to continue planting trees in Kandale, and we need to also hold the general assembly meeting, continue to support our staff in Kandale with tree planting and preparation of fire breaks, maintenance of sewing machine, books, running the library, and also tracking membership and tracking use of cement and other construction material. And also we want to conduct a training to build the capacity, training for youth in construction skills so we can build the local capacity.
I think too, one of the longer term goals is addressing the water issue. Tanks are really kind of they're helpful, but they're not solving the problem. As Colette said, 3 months out of the year, it's completely dry. And also water is needed to make the bricks for the buildings. So that, gets in the way of, so that would be a longer.
Yeah, definitely water.
Water up from the.
Yeah.
Anything
Good question.
Well, very good. I want to thank everybody for participating tonight, for attending, for your support over the years.
Yes.
It's really just been, for me, and I think for all of us involved, just been very exciting to see what's happening in Kandale. And we're just really grateful for all the support we've gotten from so many people and from so many institutions. So thank you all, and I hope you have a great evening.
Yes. Hi, thank you everybody
Thank you
for
all for
coming.
coming.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.